Hi guys. Okay, so this week I read The Report Card. It's by Andrew Clements. The publisher is Aladdin Paperbacks. Its copyright date was in 2004. It's a children's novel with 196 pages and it's appropriate for grades 3 through 5. So this story is about Nora, a 5th grade genius with a secret unlike most, and that secret is her intelligence. She pretends to be normal because she doesn't want to have to go to gifted classes, and she just wants to be treated like every other student. Nora's best friend Steven is not as gifted as her, and he does poorly on a standardized test, affecting his self-confidence, and that's when Nora decides that they need to prove that grades aren't a true measure of intelligence. At that point, she begins intentionally failing her classes, getting, I think it was all D's and 1 C on her report card. And eventually it turns into an entire school-wide campaign involving the teachers, principals, everybody. And Nora and Steven at one point are threatened with suspension. But there's a meeting and they apologize for what they had started. But they do learn at that point that some of the teachers agree with them about the importance that's placed on grades and that they aren't everything, that they don't measure intelligence to the fullest. So the main character is Nora. And then the secondary character is Steven, her best friend. Nora has 2 siblings, and Steven isn't always the best of friend to her. Sometimes he chooses some other friends over her, but he's a nice person. I think this book is good for kids because it really does help them to see that grades aren't everything. I was somebody who was obsessed with the number on the paper. What grade did I get on this test? What did this happen? And I think a book like this would have been good for me to realize that just because you do poorly on something or the grade isn't maybe what you wanted, it doesn't mean you're going to be less intelligent. And so I think that by taking the pressure off the grades, it'll show students that they can excel in other ways beyond that documented test score or whatever it is. I think that when reading this book, we need to ensure that students understand that Nora didn't necessarily handle the situation appropriately, although her intentions were good. That we don't need students to start a revolt in the classroom and intentionally fail an entire grade or anything like that. That wouldn't be appropriate. But the concept and theme behind the book is good for students. For the activity, I would have students write a short story or paragraph describing how they met one of their best friends, sort of how Nora described how she got to know Steven. I would want them to include as many details as they can remember. If it was a friend they've had for as long as they can remember, they may not remember all the details. But the who, what, when, why, and how of that friendship. Was it an instant friendship, or the opposite? How did they feel about that person when the friendship first started? Those kinds of things. So then they can form their own story and reflect on that. Thanks.